Hi, I'm Alex from HD Labels, and today we're going to do a full demonstration of the Epson C6500 colour label printer. So what is the C6500? It's a full colour inkjet label printer. Prints up to 212mm in width, so you can print either die cuts, continuous material, or use the black registration mark. So it covers all material types. It has 4 separate colours and then its own maintenance cartridge. The first thing I'd say, when you do buy a new 6500 or C6000, ideally you need to buy a second maintenance cartridge with it. The first maintenance cartridge does not last very long, purely because of the whole setup process when you first set the printer up. It has around a 19-minute sort of setup, and I think it's like a print head purge, which basically takes the first maintenance cartridge. So really you'll only probably get a few hundred labels out of the first maintenance pack. So what I've got here is actually, this is the printer, the C6500, and this is a rewinder. We actually do a pair, so you can have a unwinder, a powered unwinder on the other side, and the material can either be fed through the rear or open the top and use the internal unwinder. So if you need larger label rolls, then an external unwinder might be something for you. But the most common thing is the printer, and then we add the label rewinder as well. So it's got a full color screen, which shows all of your ink levels, your material setup. You can adjust offsets and print positioning on here. So if you are printing on die cut labels and you need it to be, well, you of course need it to be central. So it's a really easy sort of 0.1 of a millimeter adjustment, either up, down, left or right. So you can get your labels looking exactly as you need them to. Ink-wise, there are 2 doors on the front of the printer. We have our black and our magenta on the left, and our cyan and our yellow on the right. So they're really easy, just push in, push out. And then the maintenance cartridge is in the back here, back right, behind the print assembly. Right, so let's print some labels. So I've got a small die cut label here. So I'm going to get this threaded up into the printer, and then we're going to set up some artwork, just a simple logo for today, and get it printing. So the first thing you do, there's 2 grey handles on the top. The back one opens from the rear, but what we'll do is open from the top. It does beep when you open and close it, sort of a safety thing to let you know it's open or shut. So the spindle just literally removes, and then there's small blue grippers which you release, the guide, and then slide on your labels, and then slide your guide flat up to your labels. And this literally just drops inside the printer. So you have an adjustable guide again, just before the material goes into the printer. So what we're going to do is just find the end of our reel, and then we literally sliding our guide up just to try and keep it in straight. So we just poke our labels into the back of the printer. Once we're happy our labels have taken, we close the printer up, and then if I want, I can just choose feed, and it's fed our first label through to the end of the printer. So we are loaded up, good to go. So now let's get our artwork set up. So we are going to print, well, just a very simple logo onto this label. So our label is, I think it's 45mm across by 65mm high. So the first thing we need to do is create our page size in the driver. So we've got our page size in the artwork, or in Photoshop here we're using. But if I hit File, Print. So this might be a good time just to say it doesn't come with any software. It comes with a Windows or a Mac driver, so you can use any graphics package you require. So we're using Photoshop, but we print from Illustrator, maybe straight from PDFs. We have a range of programs we use. So as we can see here, our label is, or our page size is way too big for our label. So what I'm going to do is go into the print settings, and I'm going to choose media definition. These are all the ones we've got existing sizes, but we're going to create one from scratch. So this is 45 by 65mm wide. So 45 by 65. So we've got a die cut label, so we have a gap there. I think our gap's actually 4mm, but 3mm is sort of the default, and that will be fine. It will scan, look for the gap as soon as it prints. We're telling it it's a die cut label. You can say print continuous or use the black registration mark. It's a glossy paper label we've got. We can go to a better quality, but this is quite a simple label, and I'd argue that 9 times out of 10 you don't really need max quality. It does obviously improve the resolution slightly, but it will slow the print down, so quality tends to be the sort of happy medium. We have various forms of print profile, so that will dramatically affect color and maybe the saturation of ink. And you can also go into color correction, and there's or update your spot colour list if there's a real specific colour you need to start trying to match to. We have a cutter built into the printer. At the moment I've got it set to not cut because what we want to do is actually hook it up to the rewinder, and then we'll use the physical button on the printer when we finish the job, when we're ready to cut. But maybe you want to cut every label or every other label or something like that, you can set it to automatically cut. So if we OK this, and now I find that in the drop down menu. So all of our settings are saved, so this will be able to be recalled at any time. If I say OK, and then because Photoshop doesn't refresh, we just go File, Print again, and our label looks more like what we're expecting to see. So if we just print 3 of these, just to see what it looks like, make sure we're happy with our print positioning. So the printer is paused currently, so I'm just going to unpause the printer. It's just doing a quick prime of the print head, printing away. So its head's moving back and forth. This will just sit and churn these through. And there we go. So the print position looks good, but if we did want to adjust the print position, we could again go into the menu on the printer and say move the label or move the artwork to wherever we need it to be. Right, so now we're happy that our print looks good, so we're going to get the rewinder set up, get some more printed to hook up to the rewinder, and then kick our job off. So the rewinder, there's literally a power button on the back here, but at the moment we leave it off. There's a strut or a support strut on the other side, which we'll remove, and then we loosen off the core so we can slide off the guide. For this really we only need one core, so I'm just going to pop that on. Again, slide on the guide, put on our support strut. The support strut is really, if you have some huge rolls, you could potentially have a lot of weight on this. Just keeps everything flat, and if everything's flat and straight, you're going to get a nicer reel. So we obviously don't have enough labels to get through to our rewinder, so I'm going to ask the machine to print me another 30 labels, and then we'll pause it once we feel we've got enough slack, and then we'll connect it up to the rewinder. So labels are coming through, so keeps account of what it's doing. What we need is enough sort of slack to go down under the dancer arm and back up to the core. So these are coming through nicely. So I'm going to pause the printer. So it's just going to finish the label it's doing. Now it's paused, so it hasn't cancelled that job, it's ready to continue, but we're going to get it hooked up to the rewinder. If you're super clever, you might try it while it's running, but I like to get things all straight, connected properly. It is the way to do it. And then you'll end up with overall a better end reel. So we just make sure we've got the right gap, that our core is central. Once we're happy, tighten up the main spindle, which will grip the guide and the core in the inside. You'll need a little bit of tape or another label, and just attach your labels to the core. So we've got under the dancer arm at the base here, so if we just take up the slack, make sure our labels are nice and straight, and then if I turn on the rewinder, it sort of goes to its home position, it takes up that final slack, and I unpause the machine, and away we go. That's us printing. Right, so our labels are coming to the end. So I've asked it to hold, not to cut basically. So I could now print another job. So if we were going to use an applicator, for example, it might be handy to have multiple jobs on the same reel, but we don't want to use any more. So I'm just going to press the cut button. It'll cut, just finishes winding up. Turn off the rewinder. So I'm going to release the strut, remove the guide, and then we have our roll with our finished roll of labels ready to go into production. So for more information, free samples or a demonstration of the Epson C6500, please talk to the team at HD Labels. Thanks for watching.